Hey folks, John Hendricks here, coming at you with another training camp recap. Day 19, all indoors. A lot of guys returned today. Also, a lot of news to pass along to you, all those fun things. But of course, before we get into training camp and deep diving into there, shout out to Justin Burgess of BenPro for sponsoring today's show. Again, if you own a business in the greater New Orleans region, you guys know this now, contact Justin for any needs for health employee benefits or any type of health insurance needs. Justin Burgess at BenPro, 504-888-8038. Tell him John Hendricks sent you. He will take good care of you, handles accounts like NOLA Motorsports, others to be determined, all sorts of things that you do know and you don't know yet. All right, Saints training camp, day 19. So let's start with the big news of the day. Jimmy Graham returning. This is something that was hinted at by Dennis Allen on Tuesday that Graham would return to practice. And so, look, it wasn't just a return to practice for Graham. Look, he was involved. He was working with the first team, working in team, made a couple of catches today. So, look, it was Jimmy Graham like we kind of were used to and know. So I think that's a great first step for him. Obviously we'll have to keep an eye out and see what happens down the line. But I think without, being a medical professional, I think maybe this is a one-off episode. And, hopefully there's no other types of anything that come up for Graham later. I know he's going to be counted on this season for this team. They have big plans for him. I do believe he's going to make the final roster. And so, look, I think the sky's the limit for Jimmy Graham and what he can do in this offense. So we'll pay attention to that. But that was a great sign seeing him back on the field, not only on the field, but working. Other guys returning to the mix, Marshawn Lattimore, Calvin Throckmorton also returning. Throckmorton was dealing with a ribs issue, Lattimore with that knee. Both were around, left about individual drills. So that was kind of where you're at, not part of the team, but good sign for Lattimore. Again, we're in favor of maybe shutting him down before the season starts, but working his way back, that was good. As far as other players that returned, Smoke Monday, he was dealing with a personal matter yesterday. Nico Lalos returned to action in addition to Graham. So getting a little bit better, but same usual suspects, it seems like, for the injury report or guys that weren't there. Taysom Hill still dealing with that oblique strain. No update yet on him. Originally it was a 1 to 2 day thing that we thought, but look, he made the practice or he made the joint practices last week, was out there in California. It's his birthday too, so maybe he got the day off, but hopefully we see him back soon. Traquan Smith, we mentioned, hadn't seen him since day 9. Jesse James, haven't seen him since day 12. A.T. Perry was out with an illness today. That was really a new face to be there. Rashid Shaheed's been out. We know that. Kirk Merritt was out again. Again, we talked about him yesterday on the show, and just to recap about where he's kind of at. Darrell Williams left practice early. He's wasn't there today. They're very thin at running back and wide receiver today. A little bit concerning. I think they were missing, about 5 or 6 guys in the mix in their skill positions there. A little bit unsettling. Ryan Connolly, we touched on him yesterday, dealing with a significant knee injury, likely not to return. We'll see what happens there. Landon Young, MCL injury. And then Lynn Bowden Jr., Cam Jordan, rest day. Ryan Ramczyk was there at the beginning of practice before stretches, and he went inside, so clearly a vet day for him. So overall, health, I think, is trending a little bit upward. It's interesting that the Texans announced today that they are going to plan on playing their starters on Sunday for the preseason finale, which, again, reminder, nationally televised on Fox. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen going to have the call. Aaron Summers, Tom Rinaldi on the sideline. Going to be a really nice little event and way to kind of close down things for the preseason. But, as far as the Saints go, we're not sure what kind of starting capacity they're going to have. I don't expect the starters to play in this game. I believe it'll be similar to what we saw against the Chargers. Now that remains to be seen. No official word for Dennis Allen, so this is just me speculating on it. But I think based off of what we've seen, where guys are at, they really want to figure out this bottom part of their depth chart and bottom part of the roster and the practice squad. So I think 5-6 spots may be up for grabs. Want to get those answers. Do I carry an extra wide receiver? A guy like Shaq Davis, can you make a final push to get on the roster? Do I carry the extra safety? Do we find a spot for Ugo Amadi? Marcus May, he might be suspended to start the year. That's a potential roster spot that may be available for the first 3 weeks. Is Ellis Merriweather going to be this team's third running back on the roster, with Kamara set to be suspended behind Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller? All sorts of things. Kicking battle. Touched on that. Will Lutz, He hit all 5 of his kicks today. Groupie missed 1. It was from 39, I want to say. It was wide right. So, yeah, 21 right hash, so wide right. Interesting battle going on. Again, I think Ty goes to the runner in that one. I think Lutz and Gillikin are probably the guys that are going to win this job. I think punter can probably go either way, but Lutz is probably going to be your guy, a veteran that you can count on. He took a lesser deal to be here, has a lot of incentives built into his contract. I think this team can use Will Lutz, but I expect Blake Groupie to be on somebody's roster week 1 and kicking for them in week 1. That's how good he's been. He's got the leg, 62 easily, maybe upwards a little bit more than that, but he is deceptive in how his stature is. But, man, he's got a heck of a leg, so I'm really interested in seeing that. As far as practice flow today, we had one-on-ones, so that was always fun. Always fun to watch one-on-ones. You know, it's a drill that normally caters to the offensive side, but defense had some pretty good plays. But of them, you know, look, I was encouraged by Alontae Taylor leading things off with a nice little pass break up in the end zone on a fade route to Jontre Kirkland. Quan Baker had a touchdown. Another pass breakup, Ugo Amadi on Shaq Davis on a fade route. Keith Kirkwood, again, continues to be impressive. He won both of his reps. Let me make sure I've got that. Actually, all 3 of his reps, and 2 of them were for touchdowns. 1 from Carr, 2 from Carr, 3 from Carr. So he made some really good moves. I keep telling you, I've been telling you guys about this. He's most likely going to be wide receiver 4 on this team. And whether you feel good about that or not, he's played well enough to earn a roster spot. He's played better than a lot to earn a roster spot. And so I think he's wide receiver 4. I think A.T. Perry comes in at 5. You know, Perry and Shaq Davis, those are guys that are going to have to learn the special team side. I think Davis is priority practice squad. But if they keep 6 receivers, it's got to be Shaq Davis. You can't convince me right now that Traquan Smith has a roster spot on here because we haven't seen him since day 9. He's been injured after everybody saying, oh, he's finally healthy. That's the tough one. So I think, you know, Traquan, you can't make a roster case for him. It's just not going to happen. But going back to one-on-ones, look, I thought Mike Thomas looked good too. You know, I don't think it's indicative just looking at his one-on-ones. You know, I have him 2 of 4, nice little pass breakup from Marcus May. But look, I think the biggest thing to appreciate about Mike is that he's getting in and out of his cuts and his breaks better in practice. And so it may not always lead to a catch. You know, there's some times where he was a little bit frustrated. He's been frustrated in camp, when he runs a great route and the throw's just not there, whatever the case may be. But that's Mike Thomas. He's just going to be a contender every rep. He's going to go at it like it's his last. And so that's the type of energy that Michael Thomas brings to the table. And so I think he's on the ascension. You know, again, Chris Olave looked outstanding in one-on-ones, but he made 2 catches that didn't count. Both of them were one-handed, and they were out of bounds. He also had a good one-on-one rep against Isaac Yadam. So, again, there's a lot of stuff that you take away from this. I was really happy with one-on-ones today. Don't think it was catered to one particular side. I thought the defense did some good things. I thought the offense did some really good things. And so those things, will matter. 7-on-7, they focused on the red zone. Again, we talked about Michael Thomas. Nice little nasty route. And I put this in my notes. It says nasty. I don't know if you can read all that thing, but it's right here. Yeah, you can see. It says nasty. It was the route he won against Alontae Taylor. You know, just cutting inside and cutting out and then just being wide open for a touchdown when 7-on-7. So that was one of the good moments I remember seeing today. And I had a couple of them. You know, Taylor had got him on the other rep before with the pass breakup in the end zone, left end zone. So, you know, these two are battling, handsy, physical. You know, Alontae was talking about it after practice. I mean, Mike makes him better, right? And you know, Chris Olave makes him better. But he also, in the same breath, Alontae makes Chris better, you know, and these other guys. So I was really impressed with what I saw there in 7-on-7s. Look, this is another thing. We moved to Jameis. One of his plays was a slant to Jimmy Graham for a touchdown. That's what I was talking about, right to left. That was a good thing to see. That was one of his plays. He made a couple more in team later. You know, we had a near pick. Anthony Johnson had one in his hands, and he just couldn't come down with it. He dropped it. So those are always tough to see. Moving to team. Well, before I go to a team, so in this period after team, look, Brian Brisset left practice today. got hit in the eye. He left with an eye injury. So he got looked at on the sideline for about 5-6 minutes. And then they were making some calls. And so he ended up walking to the locker room. Hopefully nothing serious. But again, remember last year Cam had got poked in the eye and he ended up missing the game. But we'll see. I think Malcolm Roach has played exceptional. Jack Heflin stepped in for Brian Brisset, and I think he made the most of his reps. I mean, this is a guy XFL honors, awards for his play there. He's one of Bill Johnson's guys. I think he's done quietly nice in this camp. Somebody that I think could be on this practice squad, no doubt. But we'll see how that kind of plays out. But interestingly enough, again, going to team first period, Chris Olave on a deep right route near the sideline. Probably about 30-35 yards is what we're looking at on that. Good pressure. Look, I think Tanoh Kpassagnon was a guy that was noticeable today. Him and Peyton Turner. Turner made back-to-back plays in team against the second team, offensive line with Jamison there. First was a tackle for loss against Jamal Williams running to the outside. And the second was a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage when an intended slant to Kawan Baker. And so we've talked about Kpassagnon a little bit. We've talked about Turner plenty. We've also talked about, Carl Granderson. I feel really good about this defensive in group. So much better than probably when we went into training camp. And look, I expected Carl Granderson to have a better showing. I expected Tanoh to have more of a role. But Carl Granderson is the guy. Peyton Turner is the guy for me that, a lot of it hinged on him. Now, Isaiah Foskey, he made some plays today. I think he had one of his best practices of training camp today. And so that was a welcome sight. He made some run stops. He made some pressures, getting the sack and team. So those are the types of things you want to see. Dennis Allen also kind of echoing it. Look, it was a bad look and against the Chargers. It was a play that DA thought he could make on Easton Stick, but takes bad angle, bites on the play fake. Those things are going to happen. And so, again, I think right now in the pecking order, Foskey is going to be number 5. We'll see if he gets active on game days and stuff. But, he's still very much a work in progress in some aspects. And I think that's expected for some of these pass rushers. I don't expect day one that he's going to come out here and just be something crazy. I think Brisset's made major leaps to be there. So he's going to be very much a factor here. Looking at more things, Shaq Davis, again, he leaps off the screen. He made a couple of good catches today. And then going to the next team period, some interesting sequence. The second team offense had a couple of pre-snap penalties, which Dennis Allen talked about. That's just inexcusable. So 2 false start penalties. When they moved into the other team drills too, they used crowd noise and music. So it was pretty loud. I mean, you have to yell to the person next to you to kind of get some of the feedback and such. But, that was interesting to see there. A lot of pressure from guys, Demario Davis popping out, Jawan Johnson popping on some things. You're looking at others. Again, they were using their NASCAR package. They put Tanoh inside. And it's something he told me in the locker room that they're just trying to get their best guys out there, or like Turner, Kpassagnon, and Granderson, and then Nathan Shepard went in there. So I think overall some really good stuff from notes. Again, if you want to know all the details, all the things that happen at training camp, every single play, every single rep, you know where to go. Saints.media, si.com/NFL/Saints. You guys know this. You're going to spend a few minutes, make you a coffee, get in the zone, read up on all of it. You'll know everything that we know from training camp practice, dialed in every single minute, no plays off. That's where you're going to get all your observations. And so, check them out as far as it goes. I mean, you guys know this. Another split sack between Nathan Shepard and Tanoh on Derek Carr and one of the team reps. Again, Chris Olave popping. There were 2 plays, back-to-back plays that I want to talk about at the end of Carr and his team drills and the last one that he took. 2 just amazing throws. First one was Chris Olave with Paulson Adebo. It was a throw deep right. Great coverage by Paulson Adebo. But when I tell you that Derek Carr thread the needle perfectly to Chris Olave, I mean perfect, a la Drew Brees-esque. And he did that on the next play to Jawan Johnson, in an intermediate middle route in the left side. So another thread of the needle. Those are the things that I like seeing, because I think that's some of the things that have been missing a lot from this team ever since Drew was in there. I like the DA mentality. I don't have to see it every day, but when I see it, That gets me excited about the possibilities and the capabilities of this offense and where Derek Carr could potentially lead this team. So really excited there. Shaq Davis made a really deep catch coming for the slot. You know, we pointed out and talked about him and A.T. Perry playing a little bit more special teams. Shaq's played special teams. He played at SC State. But, you know, nice little 30-plus yard hookup from Jameis Winston and teams there. You know, this is where Jimmy got another one. He got a short pass with some yak on it, yards after catch, if you don't know what yak is. And then he got a deep left down the seam off play action, you know, for a big gain too. So that's why I say Jimmy having a pretty good day, catching his targets. That's what you want to see. I'm excited. I'm encouraged about it. Look, we'll see how this team shapes out. We've got 2 more practices. They got Thursday, and then Friday's going to be in the Dome. And then you got preseason action on Sunday. Then we'll get 1 more practice, but training camp is winding down. I can't believe it. I honestly can't. But here we are. This is what's going to happen. So stick with us. We got plenty more coming up. And again, if you need anything for your small business in the greater New Orleans region, give Justin Burgess a call. And for Ben Pro, 504-888-8038. And again, if you plan on going to the game, may or may not have some tickets to raffle off later. Oh, by the way, be sure to use that SeatGeek code, Hendrix, to get $20 off of your first order. And if it's not football, use it for any sporting event. $20 off. Use the code Hendrix, SeatGeek. That's going to do it for today, day 19. Thank you guys for all your support, comments, thoughts, loves, criticisms, feelings, all of the above. I really appreciate it. John Hendricks for Saints News Network, signing out.